as per usual. Well, you know, you can still pull it up and see the comments. My husband's always banned because that's what he does for life.
Post blocked.
He's a lifer. He's a habitual offender. He's a repeat offender. Always. What am I doing? I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. I mean, I do know what I'm doing. I'm just failing at it. All right. Share. Share to group. Share to a couple of groups here, and then we are golden. Share there. Share there. News. Share there. And last but not least, I need to share it to Casual Screen. Steve-O, if you're here, I am going to go ahead and share the podcast to the Casual Screen. Steve-O is my helper on our social media. Shout out to Steve-O. He really holds it down for us on social media.
Dean.
What up, Dane? What up, Chris? Thank you for the Happy Mother's Day. We got Ronnie here with us. Happy Mother's Day, Ronnie.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
I had to find me a hot mama to help me co-host this show tonight because we're doing Serial Mom, which is one of my favorites. And if you can ask my husband, we've had this picked for. I was showing Ronnie. Hang on one second. So when I very first started this podcast, I had this notebook, and this is my first notebook. And so, like I was showing her, the first page is like a list of movies to review, front and back. The second page is a list of podcast names, and the very third page is Serial Mom. So this has literally been picked since day one. We just went with Halloween as our very first review because for obvious reasons.
Hey, Dean, I got your box that you sent me, but she won't let me open it.
It's not that I did not say that. I said, that's not what I said. I said we have to open it on live. And I unfortunately.
Right now.
No. Because we were going to open it on our personal Facebook. It's up to Dean. If Dean wants me to open it right now, I'll fucking open it right now. But
Dean, can I open my present?
I mean, we really wanted to open the box. It's just the shitty thing. We got a package from our buddy Dean.
What's in the box?
And I have been so fucking busy, and I feel like a neglectful friend. You can even tell by my Facebook. I haven't shared shit on Facebook because I've just been so busy and neglectful. Super neglectful. So it's legit nothing personal. I love you, Dean. I want to open it.
Dean, blink twice or yes.
So definitely down to open it. Anyways, happy Mother's Day to all our viewers. Sorry, I'm drinking an enormous, giant bottle of Mountain Dew right now. What up, Bobby Doe? I feel like Dean did not blink twice. If Dean comments and says, sure, go ahead and open it right now. We talked about me doing it on my personal Facebook. Thank you, Bobby Doe. I'm going to say that's for me and you, Ronnie. We're just going to pretend like they're all for me and you. I don't know if you know Bobby Doe, but he's good people. He's a jackass. We love him. Anyways, yeah. So like I said, happy Mother's Day to all the hot moms that are watching. That's all of you, all of the ladies. All the ladies are hot mamas. So we love you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all the dudes that tune in too. You guys are cool too, I guess. So what's up? Anything cool? Nothing cool? I got a bunch of cool shit for Mother's Day. Wait, I want to show them my fucking cup.
Oh, Dean was just on here when you got up. He said it was cool. What done? Way down.
The fucking chalice.
Shut that door, please.
We've got jackass in here.
I know he snuck in here.
Why are you in here, dude? You're not supposed to be in here. He likes to chase the cats. And then you hear him bark on the freaking live feed. Okay, so the chalice of all chalices, y'all. I have to show this off.
That is freaking dope.
It's fucking Cthulhu on a chalice. Like, I have never... Like, what? He got me many other dope things, but we're not going to bust them all out. But that is fucking ridiculous. I don't even know what to say. Oh my God. Fucking baller. Anyways, sorry, I had to show off. Had to show up.
Dollar cup of coffee.
Your fucking day is coming, crybaby. Do you hear this shit? This is the shit I gotta put up with. Anyways, any fucking ways. So why you look all mopey? Crybaby sad face? Fix your face. Fix it. Jesus Christ, y'all. All right, so don't really have a lot to talk about as per usual. So I guess we'll just jump into this shit. You cool with that, Ronnie?
I'm cool with it.
Right on. All right. So we are talking about Serial Mom, and this is one of my favorite movies ever. I can thank my husband for showing it to me. Had never ever seen it. This came out in 1994. I'm shocked that I didn't see it because this is definitely from a time frame that I watched, a lot of movies from. Especially being born in I was late 80s, so I grew up in the 90s and definitely watching a lot of 90s movies. So especially like John Waters, this is a film that's directed by John Waters. So this is like, shockingly, it didn't even do good. It didn't get good reviews or anything. It's a very underrated film. I loved it though. So anyways, it is a, like I said, a 1994 cult classic. It came out April 13th. It's 93 minutes long, directed by John Waters. The budget was 13 million on this movie, and it was a box office flop at 7.8 million, which is kind of depressing.
Even with Ricky Lake in it.
Even with Ricky Lake, even with Kathleen Turner. Kathleen Turner plays Beverly, the mother. You've got Sam Waterston as Eugene, the father. You've got Ricky Lake as Misty, the daughter. And this is also Matthew Lillard's first role as Chip, the son. This is his, breakout role. This is where he starts his movie career. It's funny, though, because when you watch the trailer, I don't know if anybody watched the trailer that I shared the other day, but when you watch the trailer, it literally it mentions Kathleen, Sam, and Ricky, but doesn't even mention Matthew Lillard. And he's like the fourth
I
main
didn't see it at all.
No, he wasn't even
I was
mentioned.
surprised.
He's in the commercial. He just wasn't mentioned as a name, as an actor on there. Why are you like a million fucking miles? We can never seem to get this computer right. Like, it's stupid. He's always like way off screen. Like, we're not even sitting next to each other. So weird. So yeah, basically the plot is super kind of, I guess, simple. It's a suburban housewife who snaps and goes on a killing spree. Like there's pretty much
it could happen.
No, yeah. It's just like super fucking suburban housewife. Like it's so great. I just love the fuck out of Kathleen Turner in this movie. This is legit. This is probably my favorite Kathleen. Like anything I've ever seen her in, this is my favorite. I mean, it doesn't hurt that I'm super partial to the movie. Like I love the movie itself, but she just fucking murdered. Okay, that's not what I meant to say. But she literally murders the role, I guess. No pun intended, right? So anywho, let's go ahead. Let me fast forward through all these notes because, like I said, I've done several episodes since then. So let me find my. There we go. Here we are. Serial Mom. Okay, so the rundown. One thing about this movie that I really liked is when they filmed this movie, and they didn't even. It was filmed as if it were a true story. In the very beginning of the movie, they set it up like the first things that you read on the film is that it's based on true events. And then like throughout the entire movie, it's time stamped. And they don't even actually ever reveal that. I think it was many years later that John Waters said, not a real thing. So for years, many people thought this movie was actually based on true events. It's not. It's totally not at all. It's 100% fictional. So we're going to start off with breakfast. The very opening scene, you start out with breakfast. You see a very sweet, loving family, very suburban. You meet everybody. You meet mom, dad, you meet the brother, the sister. Very cringy, very suburban.
Live, laugh, love.
Very live, laugh, love. They're having breakfast, and you get the very first bit of Kathleen's not Kathleen, I guess in the movie her name's Beverly. So you get the very first like insight of Beverly's personality is with the fly. So there's a fly that's kind of flying around, and she hones in on the fly. She doesn't really pay attention to much else besides that fly. She kills the fly right out the gate, which I mean, anybody would, but it just kind of feeds into the rest of the movie. So that's the opening scene, and then we get a knock on the door. So this is where we have detectives who come to the door. Detectives come to the door about a ransom note that a neighbor in the neighborhood, Dottie Hinkle, has received. The ransom note is cut out of magazines. It's like your typical ransom note, and it says, "I'll get you, pussy face." Okay, that's all it says. "I'll get you, pussy face." So he starts asking if she's heard anything about it, so on and so forth, and she's doing her very suburban-y mother housewife, leave it to Beaver type gig. And one of my favorite parts of the movie where she says, she talks about how life doesn't have to be so bad. It doesn't have to be so, negative or whatever. And she says, just look at the birds. And the wee, wee. She's looking at that shit just cracks me the fuck up, dude. She's batshit out the gate. But anyways, so we fast forward. The whole conversation with the detectives are over. It doesn't last very long. They're just asking if she knows anything. So that's when we go to. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to pull my comments up. My bad, y'all. So that's when we move forward and we go to where Chip is going to work. And this is where you meet Birdie and Scotty, which I want to say is Birdie his girlfriend in this movie? Or just like a close girlfriend, like a homie. Anyways, you meet Birdie and Scotty, either girlfriend and best friend or best friend and best friend. They pick him up. Scotty has no seatbelt on, and that's made very apparent from the very beginning. Also plays a big part of the movie in the end. So Scotty has no seatbelt on. Carl pulls up to pick up Misty. And yeah, so as they're pulling out, she mentions to the detectives, this is a boy that you should pay attention to, a boy that doesn't wear a seatbelt. And that's basically the end of the scene. So everybody leaves. She goes back inside of her house, and this is where you see her true fucking nature. And I just love this. So we have the prank phone call. You're gonna pipe in or anything? Or am I just gonna do this whole one?
Listen.
He's just listening. He's gonna sit here and look pretty. As I normally we've been letting him handle the movie reviews.
All females now. Tom Wood's in the house.
What up, Tom Wood? He likes to tune in, so we love it when he stops by. Anywho, so like I said, she goes inside. She's alone in the home, and this is where you start to see her true nature. So she picks up the phone and makes a prank phone call. She calls Dottie Hinkle, the girl who has received the ransom note. So she calls her and starts getting her riled up on the fucking phone. She's talking shit, says, "Hello, is this the cocksucker residence?" And, like she just is going fucking ham on Dottie, just giving her the fucking business, right? Oh, it's great. It's so great. She just kills it. So she's giving her the fucking business on the prank phone call. Dottie hangs up. So she's like, she's had her fun, but she's not done yet. So she next thing you know, though, you do notice another neighbor lady from the neighborhood. Her name's Rosemary. She's starting to come by because she's swinging by to talk to Beverly. And she lets herself in. Beverly is upstairs in her bedroom making the prank phone call behind closed doors, so she doesn't even hear Rosemary coming up, knocking, letting herself in or anything. So then we go back to the bedroom where Beverly is making a second prank phone call. Calls Dottie again. This time she pretends to be the phone company. So she pretends to be the phone company, and she's like, we hear you're getting these harassing phone calls. And Dottie's like, yes, please. I'm a mother. Please help me. Just help me. What can you do to help? And she says, well, we need to know the exact nature of the calls. Exactly what is she saying? And Dottie's like, oh, I don't think I can say that. I don't think I can say that. And she says, well, we need to know. So she gets her to say, what was she say? Cocksucker or some shit. Yeah, she says something. She says one of the vulgar things that she's pranking her with. She says it on the phone, and it says as soon as she fucking says it, like immediately Beverly switches right into ha you fucking calling her out like listen to that dirty filthy mouth, you filthy fuck. No. So once again, the phone is high. It's fucking great. Well, anyways, at that point in time, Rosemary has reached the bedroom and hears this prank phone call and hears her yelling at Dottie on the other end. Doesn't know that she's on the phone with Dottie. So she comes in and she's like, what was that about? And Dottie was like, Beverly was like, I was on the phone with I think she says cable company or something like that. She was on the phone with the cable company. You know how that goes. So yeah, it just kind of gets brushed off. But yeah, she's driving and she's driving by, and it's Dottie's the one that's planting the flowers, right? Dottie's planting flowers, and she's driving past Dottie in the neighborhood, and she kindly waves at her after she just prank called the fuck out of her. She's tormenting her, and she doesn't even realize it. Let's see what else. But she's heading to a parent-teacher conference at this point in time. So she goes to the parent-teacher conference, and at first you see a different parent in there. So you can tell out the gate he's just one of them asshole teachers who just gives all the parents the business, right? As far as their kids go. So kind of sets the scene. She goes in, she meets with him, gives him something that she's baked. I think they're like cookies or some shit. Fruitcake. It was a fruitcake. So she gives him the fruitcake, says it's nice to meet him, so on and so forth. He goes on to say that Chip is doing great in class. He's excelling with his grades, so on and so forth. But he does say there's one not small problem. There is one problem with him, that he believes he has a morbid mind, and proceeds to ask Beverly if there's problems at home. Says clearly she's doing something wrong and recommends mental therapy for her son. So at that point, this is where she starts she's just like, okay, all right, motherfucker. So she waits at the school and waits for him to leave work for the day. And as he's walking through the parking lot, you see her in her car. And next thing you know, she runs him the fuck down. She just runs him right the fuck over, right there in the parking lot, cold blood, the whole 9 yards, runs him over, then runs him over a second time. So she runs him over not once, but twice, and there happens to be a witness. There is a girl who watches it from behind a tree on the property. Obviously, it was after school for her, so she went and watched. She's smoking a joint behind the tree or whatever, and she witnesses it. She sees it from across the way, and Beverly doesn't realize that she sees it. So, anywho, that comes back into play. She runs him over. There's a witness. Then she goes straight to the car wash. At this point, we see the kids. They're watching gore, like these super gory movies. We got Scotty, Birdie, and Chip, and they're all in Chip's room. They're watching these really fucking gory movies to the point that Scotty can't handle it. His stomach gets upset. He goes to run out of the room to throw up, and when he goes to run out. He's meted by Beverly, who has a plate full of cookies. Mind you, this is after she's ran the teacher over. So she's got a plate full of baked cookies. She's bringing in cookies. She sees the gore on the TV. It doesn't even bother her. She kicks the kids out. She sends them home with cookies, kicks them out, sends them on their way, and then proceeds to ask if her son, she asked Chip if he'll remind it and show her if they could watch the gory scene together where, the heart gets ripped out. So that's another little hey, she's a little fucked up. She's a little fucking crazy. But yeah, so now we're dinner time. You with me? Are you with me?
Suckerfish.
You're a fucking sucker fish. Where are my comments? Fuck you. I was looking at his name and I about called him by his government. Sorry. Fuck you, Eddie. Call him by his government.
Suckerfish.
Sorry. We're reading the comments over here. So, anyways, back to the review. So she kicks kids out, watches the gore scene with her son, yada yada. Now it's dinner time, and Rosemary barges over. Like, she's beating on the door. She gets in the house. She says, turn on the news. Mr. Stubbins has been murdered. And this is the math teacher. So they turn on the news and they find out that he's been brutally run over with a car. There was one eyewitness. She's on there. She's on the news, and they talk about the blue car. And Rosemary says, well, that's like your car, Beverly. Anyways, that's the end of the scene. So now it's bedtime. She's reading a bird book. She's in bed reading a bird book. And next thing you know, she's hot and bothered. So they proceed to have this super awkward sex scene. It's super awkward. She's really fucking loud. And you can hear it, the kids. Next thing you know, you pan to Ricky Lake, and then you pan to Matthew Lillard, and you can hear the parents. And we all know, I'm sure everybody's heard their parents probably. Awkward as fuck. And it's just so funny how they both pop out of the room together and they look down the hallway and they're just like, like completely just mortified of hearing her parents get it on. And she was just like, he kept telling her to be quiet, because they're super conservative. She was like, she didn't get no fucks. She was ripping and roaring, man. But anyways, awkward sex scene. And then we go to the next day. And so she's looking through her binoculars because they're supposed to be doing bird watching that day. And she's looking at the birds and she's talking about the birds. And next thing she knows, she actually sees Rosemary talking to the detectives. So she's already got Rosemary in her sights. But she sees Rosemary talking to the cops. So she's getting suspicious of her. Next thing you know, somebody calls her husband, happens to be he's a dentist. So one of the people calls Eugene and they're complaining. It's his day off. They're supposed to be bird watching, but he's crying of a toothache. So he's like, all right, fine, meet me at the dentist office at 10 a.m. So tells her, yeah, well, I think he lost the filling is what it was. Yeah. So anywho, so she's upset. She's obviously upset. He has to take off. He says the birds will be there next week. She goes in and wakes Chip up in a really fucking awkward way. You know what I'm saying? Why did she wake him up like that? Like he's laying in bed asleep and she gets down in his face and like, what did she like blow in his face or something? What the fuck was that? She was like, huh, and he fucking shoots up out of bed, scared the fucking shit out of him. And she was, why? That was just so weird. It was
it was weird as fuck.
I'm not sure why she did that in that fashion or in that manner, but she did. Whatever. It was part of the movie. We'll accept it. Chip wakes up. When we go downstairs and she finds Misty crying. And turns out she's been stood up by Carl because Carl was supposed to come get her the next day and they were supposed to do the swap meet thing, the flea market thing together. And he stood her up. And she's upset, she's crying, and she's talking about how he should be dead. Like, and she means it. She's like, he should, I mean it, he should be dead. Of course, she's a teenager and her heart's broken. So, of course, she's going to say whatever any teenage girl would say. So, anyways, moving forward, detectives come by to talk to question about, now they're coming by to question about the murder of the teacher. And as they're doing so, they start discussing that there's only one car that's registered with the BMV that matches the description of the car at the scene of the accident or at the scene of the murder. And she happens to be the only car that's registered. And they basically talked their fucking way out of that one. And next thing you know, they see the magazine. They see a magazine. And the magazine happens to be missing a cutout P from what appears to be the ransom note. But she was smart. She happened to have Rosemary's magazine that she cut it out. Because she mentions, if you look at the postage, it's not even her. She recycles her magazines anyway. And Rosemary doesn't recycle, which we'll get to that.
I actually did not catch that.
Yeah, you didn't catch. Yeah. She had a magazine, and the P was actually cut out of it, and the detectives seen it, and she said, "No, it's not even mine. If you check the label, you'll see that it's Rosemary's." So she puts that off on Rosemary, and she even mentions, like I said, she said, "Sorry, I got a lizard in here moving around." She mentions that it's Rosemary's, and Rosemary doesn't recycle. So then the next thing you see is the trashmen. The trashmen are actually coming up, and she's recycling, and she that's her groove. She loves recycling, and you're watching her recycle, and then she's looking out the window and she sees Rosemary, and Rosemary's just dumping fucking trash, like no trash bag, no nothing, just recklessly just dumping fucking, making a huge mess, basically littering. Because that shit goes to the dump, and it's supposed to be bagged, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't recycle. Okay, I do. I use my recycling bin, but it's mainly like boxes, cardboard, stuff like that. But I mean, fuck, I'm at least responsible enough to put my shit in a bag and tie it up. Anyways, so she's watching all this happen, and she's like, you can tell she's getting visibly upset over Rosemary. But then she sees the trash man, and she sees him recycling, so she gets happy again, and she gets two little shooters out of her closet, two little alcohol shooters out of her cabinet, and grabs her recycling. Out the door she goes, and she meets up with the recycling guys, and they're all out there joking and talking, and they're talking about how she doesn't recycle and how she's a litter bug, and they're all joking about killing Rosemary, and how somebody should just, off with her head, basically, just kill her. But anyways, it's basically just a joke, right? So anyways, she goes over to Rosemary's house and she's like peeping in the window, and Rosemary actually catches her peeping in the window, so she pops up and acts like she's meant to be there. Well, it's Rosemary and Dottie. Excuse me. There's Rosemary and Dottie at the house. And they're actually drinking a beer. They offer her a beer, but she declines. And they said, so they get to talking, and she apologizes about everything that Dottie's going through. She said, I'm sorry you're going through that. She sits down, Dottie's sitting down, and she asks Rosemary about some flowers that are in a vase, and she says, are those pussy willows? And as soon as she said it, Dottie heard the word pussy, and she said, what did you say? And then she looks at her and said, pussy willows. And the way she says it, immediately Dottie knows. Dottie knows it's her, knows she's the one that's terrorizing her out the grate. And she did it intentionally. So as soon as Dottie catches it, Rosemary's back's turned. And what's that fucking egg? What is it called? Fabergé egg. I don't fucking know. Some expensive ass collector glass egg or whatever. And fucking Beverly grabs it off the table, throws it on the ground, shatters the fucking egg, and immediately blames Dottie. Smokes the fucking egg and immediately starts blaming Dottie. Why would you do that? Why did you do that, Dottie? Da, 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 da. So anyways, and it gets Dottie out the door, or gets Rosemary out the door and takes her to the swap meet because she says somebody else has the eggs for sale there. But makes Dottie look bad. Well, anyways, on the way out the door, Dottie's yelling, it's her, she's the one. Next thing you know, though, detectives, like I said, Eugene, now he's went to the office to take care of this guy's filling that called him on his day off. And detectives show up at his office and start questioning him about his wife and about books that they found in the trash. And they're actually books about like serial killers and like stuff like that, like how that shit works, like the mind of a serial killer. And he starts to say, no, those are probably my son Chip's. And they're like, no, they're your wives. And she, so they did like a paper trail check. Because she, I guess, used a debit card to purchase. So they did a paper trail check and found that she also purchased other books as well. So they were like, nah, they were hers. He basically says he's not answering any questions, and it kind of goes from there. It's the end of, there's nothing that they can do with books in a trash. You can't do anything about that. But anyways, so then we go to the flea market. And almost immediately into them being at this flea market, you see Carl, and Carl is sure as shit with another girl, all hugged up, wrapped around, like hugged up with another girl.
Adult film star actress Tracy Lords.
And I will say this, the porn stars. I will say this. He did say in the beginning, like when the first time he picked Misty up, or Misty. Yeah, the first time he picked her up initially, she said, "Oh, you're Misty's boyfriend," and he said, "No, I'm more like a friend." So even out the gate, he said that she was just a friend. You know what I mean? So they actually weren't even dating; they weren't together. Misty just liked him. But anyways, Beverly sees the boy that has broke her daughter's heart with another girl, so automatically she's not having it. And then we have Rosemary. Rosemary goes to this table where they're selling the eggs that she wants to replace. And she finds one that's got a chip, and she's trying to get him haggled down, and he isn't going for it. He's still asking for a higher price. She decides not to buy it. Instead, she goes over to a table that's got these fire pokers on it. Several different ones, a few different ones. And she switches the price tag from one to the other and marks one down from $6 to $3 and decides to buy it instead. So she feels like she's gotten one over on him. She goes back, she puts the fire poker down. I'm not real sure how, I can't remember how Beverly got the fire poker in her possession.
She has them holding it at their table.
Oh, and then she just takes off and does more shopping or some shit? Yeah. Okay. So anyways, Beverly watches Carl go take off to the bathroom by himself. And as he does this, she grabs the poker, the fire poker, and follows him into the bathroom. and there happens to be a guy coming out of the stall, so she dips into a stall when he's coming out so that she can hide, nobody sees her. Well, what she doesn't know is there happens to be a glory hole in this fucking stall, and there's a dude who's in the other side of the glory hole who's a voyeur, and he is watching her through. He can see her, sees her standing there with the poker, sees her, sees that sees her face and everything. She doesn't know he's there though. She goes out, and he's standing at the urinal, back turned. He can't see anything. She shoves the poker through him, kills him with the fire poker. Yeah, pulls out, and there's like liver hanging from it. She's like trying to get it off. I love that the whole time she's committing all these murders and stuff, she's still like that super suburban housewife who's just like, ew. Like, doesn't want to get blood on her, doesn't want to get her hands dirty. She's just like, she's still so much of a suburban housewife throughout the whole movie. She never breaks character. I just fucking love it. But anyways, so she gets that off, but she doesn't like wipe. I don't know why she didn't wipe the poker. Like, that didn't make sense to me. She doesn't wipe the poker. She does kind of slip in some blood and stuff. She like slips on that piece of liver on the floor, but away she goes. And next thing you know, there's like a bunch of commotion over at the bathroom. So Misty says, hey, guys, talking to Rosemary and Beverly, her mom, she says, watch the booth. I want to go see what's going on over here. So she goes over there to see what's going on, see what all the commotion is about. And at that point in time, that's when you find out that Carl has been stabbed to death and that he's dead. And then we're coming back now to Beverly and Rosemary, who are sitting at the table watching the table. And you see that she sells this doll, this Pee Wee Herman doll that was a part in the beginning that we didn't mention. And so she sells the Pee Wee Herman doll. And next thing you know, here comes Misty again. And she's like freaking out. And she's like, Carl's dead. Carl's dead. And Beverly's very dismissive of it. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I did sell the Pee Wee Herman doll. And she's like, no, did you hear what I said? Carl's dead. He's dead right now. He's in the bathroom, dead right here. And she looks at her and she says, well, you got your wish, didn't you? You know, she's just very dismissive. And Rosemary picks up on that because Rosemary's already kind of like looking at her a little bit. So Rosemary picks up on how dismissive she is. And she goes and touches that little poker of hers that is sitting right next to her at this point and looks at her hand and realizes it's covered in blood. So automatically, like, Rosemary's like, you know, she's definitely putting two and two together. Sorry, I get lost. I don't stick with my notes, and then I gotta like go back to my notes and find where I'm at in my notes. So yeah, all of that shit happens. And during this point in time, during all of this, we pan back to the husband who is now at home, and he's like rummaging through all of her shit. He's like going underneath the bed, going through her nightstand drawer, flipping the mat, like going underneath the mattress. He ends up finding this tape. He's got this cassette tape, this recorded cassette tape, puts it in a tape player, and he hits play, and lo and behold, it's fucking Ted Bundy, who's like, hey, Beverly, what's up? This is Ted Bundy, and it's 6 days before my execution, and blah, blah, you know, so like, she's like homies with Ted Bundy and shit, and he's just like, holy fucking shit, like, what is happening? Like, I love the Ted Bundy aspect. And real quick, just so everybody knows, that is John Waters who does the voice of Ted Bundy. I don't think it's actually credited in the movie in the credits, but it is John Waters who does the voice. But yeah, so she's like fucking homies with serial killers, and the husband's just like, oh my God. Like, he starts realizing, what the fuck? Like, everybody, like, at this point, like, shit starts coming together. So fucking husband finds the tapes, yada, yada, yada. Misty ends up going to, were they at the movie shop at this point in time where Misty went? Misty goes to the movie shop because Chip works at a movie, a rental movie, like a movie rental place, like a Blockbuster, but not Blockbuster. So anyways, fucking Misty goes in and says, literally starts saying, that she says, Chip, our mother is Charles Manson. I think our mother is Charles Manson. And he's like, you know, like, they all start joking about it, and everybody's like, ha ha ha, because they're all into gore and shit like that. They're like, okay, yeah, mom, suburban housewife mom, she's Charles Manson, funny joke. And she's like, no, it's not a fucking joke. Like, seriously, mom's killing people. Like, something's fucking wrong. So dinner time comes around, and at this point now, brother, sister, and dad are all on board together, and they're like, holy shit, mom's killing people. And mom's just like, in her mind, she's I don't know if like
She's the only one that doesn't think she's doing anything wrong.
she's the only one that's just like, Mom, I'm fucking not a serial killer. What do you mean? Fucking what? Like, there's no way. So anyways, they're like all sitting down to have dinner. She's acting normal as fuck, and they're all just like mortified but not saying anything. And she's like, all right, or no, he mentioned something about saying grace. Let's say grace and pray for strength. Let's please pray for strength. And pray for all of it. Next thing you know, though, now we've got Rosemary talking to the cops. Rosemary's talking to the cops because this is after the poker incident. So now we got Rosemary talking to the cops. And after they talk to Rosemary, then they go and they talk to Dottie. So Dottie's now talking to the cops and talking about her situation with the pussy willows and stuff like that. So everybody's now talking to the cops. Now the cops are starting to get suspicious and they're starting to like keep eyes on Beverly. And Chip says at dinner time, Chip happens to tell his mother, he's like joking about it, but he's like, hey, Scotty thinks you're the killer, you know, and he's just joking about it. Well, he's not joking about it, but he's joking about it in a joking sense. Next thing you know, she's just like, I'll be right back. And she just up and fucking leaves dinner, leaves the three of them sitting there. Next thing you know, you hear the car start and you hear a car take off. And then you hear another car take off. And then they get up and they're like, yep, Mom's fucking gone. So all of them hop in the car and they all take off. So what has happened is she's taken off. The second car that took off was the cop that's sitting outside the house watching her because now they're suspecting her. So the cop takes off and then the whole family now is also en route because they believe that she's after Scotty because he's mentioned Scotty thinks that she's the serial killer. So they're like, fuck, dude, Scotty's gonna die. Oh my God, we gotta save Scotty. Mm-hmm. Well, then you see Scotty's parents are fucking, like Scotty's up in his bedroom and he's fucking putting porn on, big busty bitches, you know, like big booby bitches and fucking watching porn, getting in his fucking room like he's a teenage boy. Oh God. Fucking at this point now, though, we pan back to Beverly. Beverly knows the cops are following her. She sees the cops in her rearview mirror. She's like, fuck this. And she like turns her radio up and bolts across this, like over the curb and through the grass. And like, I don't know how she did it, but she manages to lose the police. And the police are like, she bounced. She literally bounced. The police just keep going. Somehow the police and the family end up at Scotty's house. Okay. They're in pursuit. They find the family. So they all end up at Scotty's house, which is where they, you know, where we believe that she's heading. Because Scotty thinks she's the killer. So they all fucking get to Scotty's house and you see she has arrived and she's looking in the window and we've got two people who are sitting down eating dinner and they're like tearing into this bird, like these roasted birds. I don't know, maybe like hens or something. I don't know what they were. Yeah, like the corn can. But anyways, they're like tearing apart these birds and like they're eating them and stuff like that. And she is a avid bird person. So she's watching through and she's like imagining these little baby birds and stuff. And then she's watching these people just mangle these dead cooked birds and she's like losing her shit. Right. So anyways, so after that though, they eat dinner and then they're like getting set up for what? Yes, it's actually the husband who got the filling and his wife. So she's getting set up for Wheel of Fortune, getting Wheel of Fortune turned on. She's upstairs. He's in the kitchen still, or the dining room, eating cake, even though he's not supposed to have cake because the dentist, Eugene, said he wasn't supposed to have sweets. He's sitting there just mowing on cake.
What is the dentist now? He's a quack.
Yeah, what is the dentist now? He's a quack. Well, anyways, they end up, like I said, no, so now we pan back to Scotty. And Scotty's in his bedroom and he's fucking getting it. And we've got, this is the family's inside of the house and the cops are arriving at this point in time. So they've got Eugene, Misty and Chip outside of Scotty's door, and Chip says, bust this door down. And next thing you know, he fucking busts the door down. All three of them run in and he's sitting there fucking getting it. Oh my God, how embarrassing. His scream, his reaction fucking cracked my shit up. I was like, oh, how embarrassing. And then after that, the fucking cops are in the door too, pulling fucking guns and shit because they believe that she's in there as well. Turns out she ain't even at Scotty's house. She wasn't after Scotty at all. She went to the people with the dentist issue. So then we go back to the house with the dentist and the guy with the filling and his wife. she's, like I said, she's upstairs getting ready. She's like, come on, she yells, and she's like, come on, before the kids get home, please, come on, quit eating the fucking cake and let's watch Wheel of Fortune. She goes to open her closet and she sees like the shoebox moving on the ground, and she's like, honey, I think we have a rat problem. And next thing you know, she looks up and she finds Beverly standing in her closet with a pair of like sewing scissors, like a big fucking pair of metal sewing scissors. And she just stabs her in the stomach with it. And as soon as she stabs her in the stomach, out comes a little fucking rat and it's like going up her leg and shit. So she starts screaming and panicking. Well, her husband hears it downstairs. So he comes up to see what the commotion is about. And when he comes up and finds his wife dead on the floor, he looks up and there's Beverly standing with the scissors. And she looks at him and goes to fling the scissors at him and throw it at him. He ducks out of the way. They go into the wall. He starts taking off out of the house. He gets out to the front yard screaming and yelling. She opens a window from, out the front door. As soon as he goes out the front door, she's upstairs at a window that has an air conditioning unit hanging out of the window, and immediately opens it and pushes the air conditioning unit right on top of him. So not only did she kill him, she killed her and him both. So there's 2 more kills on her book right there. The family, though, like I said, they're at Scotty's house and they're all relieved. They're so relieved. She was on. Okay, so they're overthinking this. Clearly, they've got it all wrong. She's not a killer, so on and so forth. So they go back to the house and they go in and they're like, God, we're so relieved. We're so relieved. It wasn't, we were just thinking, we're crazy. We're crazy. We're the crazy ones. And then here she comes with a bowl of dessert. And she's like, who wants strawberries? So everything is fine again. Then we go to the next day. And the very next day, they go out, and this is like a Sunday morning. So they're heading to church, and they go out of their house to get in the car. And there's a fucking line of police cars. There's got to be at least 20 fucking cop cars. Like, talk about the ultimate police escort. Is that a baby?
Yeah. He never wants to sleep.
So, like I said, we have a slew of cop cars at this point, and she gets in the car and they're heading to church, and they realize they're heading to church. So they get on dispatch. They get over the speaker with dispatch, and they're like, "Can we arrest her?" And they're like, "No arrests yet. You cannot do anything until we get results back on the fingerprinting for the scissors and the fire poker." Right, the DNA. Right. So you got to have a search warrant. Can't do anything else. So she gets to go into church and attend church. Into the church doors, everybody is talking because she's been, on the way there in the whole police court escort, they're listening to the radio, and a broadcast comes over where they're talking about her, and they actually name her as the suspect on the radio while they're all in the car, and the whole family's just like, oh my god, oh my fucking god. And she's just like, it's not me. Like, what? That's nonsense. Like, she's the whole time she's just like, no, not me. So anyways, they go to church, they get inside church, and as they're going in, everybody's talking. They're the talk of the town. Nobody wants to like speak to them, nobody wants to see them, nobody wants to be near them, so on and so forth. Then they're going through church, and the warrant is issued. The fingerprints come, everything comes back, and they're like, go ahead, go in on her, go in. So the police go into the church, but they're respectful because it's a church and they don't just want to barge in and start arresting motherfuckers. So, so anyways, they go in and they sit privately. Well, she ends up like coughing or sneezing, and when she does, she like loogies all over this baby that is sitting in a pew just in front of her. Oh god, gross. And when she does, it like smacks the side of this fucking baby's face, and the mom sees it and starts freaking the fuck out. And as soon as the mom starts screaming and freaking out over it, the whole fucking church just goes into this really weird panic for whatever reason. The whole church starts panicking, and it creates this huge diversion, which allows her to get away. So she's sneaking out the door, and here comes what's her name? Birdie and Chip, and they're fucking running her out the door too. They go to Scotty's car. Chip knows where Scotty hides the key. So Chip grabs the spare key, and they steal Scotty's car and take the fuck off with mom. They got to get her the fuck out of there because cops are getting ready to arrest her fucking ass. So they take off. They head to the movie store where they work, and they hide her. They hide her because somebody's knocking on them. They want in. Then it's time to open the store so that they can start renting movies. So they hide her in like this closet or whatever. And as they do, Mrs. Jensen comes in. It's Mrs. Jensen who's knocking on the door. Mrs. Jensen doesn't rewind her movies, okay? And anybody who remembers the "Please Be Kind" rewind thing, I mean, it's bad on your tape, you know, like it is bad on, like, so for movie places they wanted you to rewind yours, because if not, they're rewinding and rewinding and rewinding, and they're constantly replacing equipment back then. So it costed $1 extra if you didn't rewind the movie. And this time he was like, I ain't dealing with your shit. You never rewind your movies. I'm charging you the extra fee right now. And he does. And she gets pissed off that she gets charged the fee, and on the way out the door she calls Chip a son of a psycho, and Beverly hears all of that. So next thing you know, she leaves out the door, and they go to check on Beverly. Beverly's nowhere to be fucking found. So they start panicking, and they're like, oh fuck, what's Mrs. Jensen's address? So they get her address, and they're like, shit, it's just down the road, we need to go. So they run down there, and they see that sure enough, Beverly's in there. Beverly's broken, and we see Mrs. Jensen. She's sitting down and watch Annie. Are you gonna drink your coffee so you stay awake, sleepy? Oh, great, not awake. So they see Miss Jensen, and you see her. She puts on Annie, and she starts singing. This is one of the most fucked up scenes in the whole fucking movie. So she puts on Annie.
Have to pay to get that.
What's that?
Oh, Annie. Oh, I don't have no idea. I have no idea.
Pay like
I had
$50,000 or $60,000 just to get the rights to play that little clip of Annie.
The small little clip it. I could have swore I had charged $60,000 for the right to use that song. The copyright holders of the song "Tomorrow," as heard when Mrs. Jensen watches Annie, charged $60,000 for a right to the song to use, due to only due to the explicit content of John's past films. So because of who John Waters was and his past work, that's the only reason they charged $60,000. Otherwise, it wouldn't have charged that fucking much for what the 12 seconds worth of Annie that was quoted in the movie. But anyway, so the Annie scene, she pops in the movie Annie, and she sits down and fucking kicks her feet out and has her dog, she tells her dog to start licking mommy's feet. Oh my God, I just could not during this scene.
Okay.
She literally makes her mother. Why am I so white? Quit. Help. I hate when my light does that, because then I turn really white and I look dead. I'm not dying. Oh God. Well, that's not bestiality, really. It's nasty. I would not call that quite bestiality. I would call it definitely a strange form of animal abuse, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. I got weirded out.
So weird. I don't think she was like getting. I don't think she was getting sexual gratification from it. But still, it was still fucking weird. Like, don't make your dog lick feet. Like, what the fuck is that shit? But for real, she was like, "Come lick mommy's feet." Oh my God. So, anyways, Beverly has broken. And she grabs the butcher knife, because at first you see, before she sits down to watch Annie, she's like cutting meat with a butcher knife. So she grabs this butcher knife and goes to she wants to stab her, and she's like, no, we're not going to use a butcher knife. So she goes back. And at this point, Scotty has found, because Scotty knows his car's been stolen, so he takes off after him. He catches up with everything and everyone and finds he's watching Chip and Birdie watch Mrs. Jensen's house. So he gets curious and climbs up on the roof of a garage next door. So he's got a clear shot of what's happening inside that living room. And at this point in time, Beverly has no idea that he's watching. So anyways, also at the same time, Chip and Birdie are trying to look into the window to see what's happening with Mrs. Jensen. They know that Beverly's in there. They know that Mrs. Jensen is in there. Like I said, Beverly decides not to use the butcher knife. She goes back into the kitchen. She grabs this fucking huge, what was it, like a ham, fucking like a leg, like a big old fucking ham bone or some shit. She goes in there and grabs this giant fucking log of meat and goes back in there and just starts beating the fucking shit out. Beats her to death with a giant fucking piece of meat. And like I said, Scotty is watching the entire thing from the garage above. And at this point in time, Birdie actually gets up into that window and sees it too, and she starts freaking the fuck out. Like she sees all of it. Like she sees the actual dead body, the blood, everything. So, like it is what it is. Well, Beverly sees Scotty and has seen that Scotty has found her. So she takes off after Scotty. As she God damn, I am way off. Okay. Okay, so anyways, Mrs. Jensen still okay, so she chases Scotty. Scotty gets away though. Scotty gets into his car, and as soon as she gets in, she's got the butcher knife again. She's going after Scotty with the butcher knife. Scotty gets in his car. He's got a drop top convertible, and she starts stabbing the shit out of the top of the car. But fortunately, he gets away. Yeah, so he gets away, and she literally holds the next person at knife point. Like, what the fuck? I would not get out of my car. I'd be like, "Fuck you, bitch," and I'd run her over. But she holds this dude, a dude and no less at that. At knife point, and gets his van, steals his van, and then there's a pursuit. She's chasing Scotty. Next thing you know, fucking we've got Chip and Birdie, and they're running, and they see Eugene, the father, and Misty in their car. So they're like, so they all get in the car together. They're like, "Hey, have you seen Mom?" "No, we haven't seen her. Have you?" And next thing you know, you see Scotty fucking flying by, and then you see this van with Beverly in it fly by, and they're like, "Oh fuck!" So they all get in the car and they follow everything. So now we've got Scotty in a car, the van with Beverly in pursuit behind it, the car with the family in pursuit behind it, and then the cops join it as well. So you've got this big, giant, long line of pursuit. Yes, yeah, and they're all on their way to. He pulls up to this venue. He sees that this venue's packed and stuff. There's a concert going on, so he pulls up to this venue. Maybe I should plug the computer in. Are we gonna lose battery? Anyways. So he pulls up to the venue, hops out of the car. He's like desperate to get in. They're checking his ID. He does. He finally gets in the fucking door. Beverly she's pulling up and she's getting out too, and they're all realizing who she is, and they're like, "Oh shit, are you Serial Mom?" And she's like, "I guess I am." And they're like, "Well, you get your ass inside. Get inside. Get inside." So they get her inside the venue. And there's a band playing.
The band is.
I'm gonna go grab the battery charger. Go ahead and talk about band.
The band on the TV on the show, they're called the Camel Toe, or Camel Lips, but it's actually a legendary all-female band L7 from the 90s. They're a badass band. They actually started a riot at a concert
all-female band
in Europe where people were throwing mud and beer bottles at them and shit, so they proceeded to take out their bloody tampons. All the chicks were on their rags at the same time, and they took out their tampons and started pelting the crowd with them. So there's a little.
So yeah, that's who John Waters hired to play this gig in this movie. But it's a pretty rowdy scene. So it's like, oh my god, I'm really fucking white again. My light hates me. So they're in this venue, and it's like a very punk rock, like hardcore show, and there's a bunch of like moshing, and people are getting down and stuff, and she's like going through the crowd. She's just fitting right in. Well, anyways, somehow or another, he ends up on stage, and one of the girls with the guitar or bass or something fucking nails him in the stomach with it. And when he nails it, so he turns around, and when he turns around to go off stage, he sees Beverly standing right there. Beverly still got the knife. Beverly's standing right there, and she cuts this rope, and when she cuts the rope, it actually drops lights down on top of Scotty. And when the lights come down on top of Scotty, that's when she's got like this can of aerosol or some shit, some sort of spray, aerosol spray, and a lighter, and actually torches him and lights him on fire. He ends up on fire on the stage, and everybody's like, nobody does anything. Like, nobody's like, hey, this guy's on fire and he's gonna die. No.
Supposed to put people out of fire at concerts.
Furthermore, one of the gals has a bottle of vodka, and she pulls out her bottle of vodka, and she's like, and she takes a shot and then spits vodka onto this poor kid who's on fire and dying, and just ignites the fire even more, and the crowd's like, fuck yeah. Well, anyways, fucking in the midst of all this, the family winds up in the venue as well, and they see Serial Mom, they see the kid on fire, and they're just like, oh my God, like, and fucking Chip's not even like, oh my God, my best friend's on fire. You know, shit. My mom set my friend on fire. Like, it's so just like cheesy. Like, okay, but whatever, we'll ignore that. So anyways, the cops are there as well. And that's when she ends up getting arrested. She gets arrested, and as she's getting arrested, it causes this big commotion, and everybody's like, boo, boo, boo. And then on the way out the door, everybody's chanting, and it's like, cereal, mom, cereal, mom, cereal. So like she's just eating it up, loving every fucking bit of it. Well, anyways, 5 months go by. So now we're 5 months forward, and we're to the court. See, and I love the court scene. The court scene's probably outside of everything. The whole movie's great, but the court, everything about the court, the trial was fucking awesome. So we go to the court scene. She comes into the courtroom and she's all super happy, sweet, commenting like on people's jackets, the jury. She sees the kid. She's like, "Hi, my husband's falling asleep. Don't mind him." Anyways, opening statements. We have don't look at me like that, sir. Everyone can see you falling asleep on TV. Opening statements. He may as well just like grab himself a pillow and just fall asleep. This is my life, yeah. Anyways,
I can't keep up with these kids.
I guess that's what it is. Opening statements. You got your attorneys, you got both opening statements. And as soon as her lawyer goes up to start speaking for her and on her behalf, you know, he's known them forever. Eugene's his dentist, so on and so forth. Beverly realizes one of the jurors, juror number 8, is wearing white shoes after Labor Day. And she starts grabbing her paper and she's scribbling down this note. And her attorney comes over and she's like pointing at the note. And the note just says, Juror 8's wearing white after Labor Day. And she's like, and the attorney looks down at the note and looks back at her and she's like, look at the fucking note, guy. Like, acknowledge the fact that she's an idiot. And he's like, he immediately looks at the jury and he's like, you guys, she's fucking crazy. Like, we want to plead insane. Like, out the gate, that was his immediate argument was, yeah, she did it because she's mentally fucking insane. Well, anyways, she immediately fires him. As soon as this happens, she fires him and immediately says she wants to represent herself. The judge that said, what did he say? Yeah, how did he word it? Something about a defendant who
For a client.
represents I don't know. Anyways, he basically calls her a fucking idiot for wanting to represent herself because nobody should ever do that. There's a reason lawyers are hired, but he can't advise against it. It's her legal right, so he allows her to do it. Fires the attorney. She proceeds to represent herself. First person on up for questioning is Dottie. So the defense. Wait, who is it? The prosecution and then the defense, right? Okay, so the prosecution asks their questioning first, and then the defense, goes to proceed to ask her, and at this point, Beverly gets her wound up because she knows how to push Dottie's buttons. So she starts getting Dottie wound up on stage, and next thing you know, Dottie's up on stage cussing like a motherfucker, cussing her out, and the judge is like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna hold you in contempt of court. And Dottie's up there like just mouthing shit talk to her and stuff, getting her riled the fuck up, and nobody sees it besides Dottie. And Dottie pranks the fuck out and ends up held in contempt of court, fined, and put in jail for 5 days. Yeah. So next day, we go to the next day in trial, and you go in and they're selling merch. You got Misty outside selling fucking merch, to her mom's merch. You go inside and you've got fucking Chip, and he's like on the phone talking about movie gigs and stuff like that. Who's got Susan Sarandon? Yeah, Geraldo, and he's talking about Susan Sarandon's gonna play his mom in the movie and yada yada. Well, anyways. Next person on the stand is the stoner chick, the girl that witnessed the car accident. So she's up on the stand and literally just buttered out of her mind. She's just like, the car was blue. She's just buttered. So she is not a credible witness at all whatsoever. Next thing is the detective. So one of the first detectives, hi little baby. We got a baby in the room. Happy Mother's Day.
Right.
So we've got our first detective on the stage or on the stand. He's the one that came and questioned about the books that he found in the trash can. So the prosecution asks, and he starts talking about the books. The defense goes up and starts asking questions, and she proceeds to ask what we would find in his trash can. if we searched his trash, basically it's a don't judge a book by its cover situation. You can't judge somebody based on what they read, right? And he's like, well, you would find sports magazines in my trash can and this, that, and the other, just basic shit, normal shit. And she's like, oh yeah, what about this? And proceeds to, call him out about, what was it? Chicks with transgender, chicks with dicks, porn, magazines, and his trash can. So basically made him look like, an ass, basically stating, don't judge a book by its cover. You cannot judge me based on what I read. Here's what you read. And nobody would have ever assumed that about you. You know what I mean? Like, so don't ever judge a book on its cover. And he's like, I'm a married man. He starts freaking he ends up not being credible. Basically lied. Then we put Rosemary on the stand. So we start talking about the poker, right? Well, the prosecution's done with the questioning. So the defense, she gets up there and she says, hey, well, didn't Carl didn't Carl end up buying something that you wanted to purchase? Talking about the egg, because Carl ended up buying that egg for the little girl that was there with him. So she starts turning everything back around on her, and she said, wasn't that your magazine that the pea was cut out of? And weren't those your scissors that were found on the scene of the murder with the chick in the closet? And she said, and she ends it with, do you recycle? And as soon as she said no on the stand, the jury just was like shocked and appalled that she didn't recycle. The last one, well, not the last one. Then we've got the arresting detective. So they pull him up on there, and that's when Suzanne Summers comes in and basically just steals the stage. Like Suzanne Summers everybody's just like in awe that Suzanne Summers is there. They finally call their last witness to the stand though. And this is also one of my favorite scenes in the whole fucking movie. So they call Marvin A. Pickles to the stand. Marvin A. Pickles was the voyeur who was in the bathroom and saw her through the glory hole. And she knows he's a voyeur. So he gets on stage and she's sitting there and so she's at a table and she's directly across from him. She's in a skirt, she's in a dress or whatever, skirt, dress, whatever. Husband sleeping. So he's a voyeur, and she starts literally, she sits back and she starts spreading her legs. Like, you can't see what I'm doing, but she starts spreading her legs. She's like fanning her legs, and he's watching so he can see what's going on at this table. And so the prosecution is standing there trying to ask these questions, and she's like, the more he's asking questions, she's just fanning her legs, and like he's watching every last bit of it. He's losing his fucking, because he's a voyeur. So this is what he's into. And immediately, like, they're questioning him, and he's like, I said whatever you told me to say. I made it all up. And he just immediately blows his whole fucking gig. He falls for the shit under the table, falls for the pussy show and everything. And he just immediately is just like, nope, I made it all up. So that, I mean, it literally, every single witness was basically trash. So then we come to a 10-minute recess where the jury is taking, and going in and talking. You've got Suzanne Summers. She's outside. They're talking to her on the reporters are talking to her, and she's talking about how she believes that Beverly was wrongfully accused, so on and so forth. We go back in for closing statements. Then we go out for the verdict. We come back in for the verdict, and they read the verdict, and she is found not guilty, acquitted of all charges. So there's a big hoo-ha in the courtroom. Everyone's excited. She got off. She got acquitted, so on and so forth. They're walking out of the courtroom, and as they're walking out of the courtroom, and you've got Suzanne Summers walking with them, and so on and so forth, and everything's going on, like the paparazzi, the cameras, the news, so on and so forth. And she watches the gal, juror number 8 with the white shoes, she watches her dip off into a corner. So she follows the old girl into the corner, and you go and you see the juror, and she's on the phone, and she said, we found her not guilty, and I knew she wasn't guilty from the get-go. So she was totally on her side even. She was 100% on her side. But Beverly catches her back there, hangs up the phone, takes the phone from her, and proceeds to tell her, you cannot wear white after Labor Day. And she's like, oh, no, you can do that now. It's not a thing. It's totally not a thing anymore. And she said, oh, it is a thing, and proceeds to beat her to death with the phone. She literally kills her in the fucking courtroom. joins back with the group of people, and they're like, hey, let's get a photo of you and Suzanne together, you know, the serial mom and the actress playing together, let's get a photo together. So she keeps trying to get on her good side, but Suzanne Summers wants her on the other side, is forcing her to the other side, and she snaps and she's like, this is my bad side. And then the next thing you know,
for that side too.
next thing you know, you got somebody screaming because they find the dead body. And as soon as they find the dead body, Suzanne Summers makes eye contact with Beverly. And it's like, yeah, that was me. And that's the end of the movie. Ta-da! There you have it. That's Serial Mom. What are you doing? That's Letty. Letty showing all the love. Thank you, Letty. We love you. Anyways, there you have it. Did you love it? Did you love it, Ronnie?
I loved it. It felt like a weird dream. Like, I don't know, the whole movie was odd, but I loved it and it was fucking hilarious.
It was very like Leave It to Beaver, like truly,
Yeah.
like just very Leave It to Beaver with murder is the best way to really describe it. What do you think, Mr. Sleepy Pants? Nothing.
Live, laugh, slay.
Okay. Oh, so he doesn't have much to say. Anyways, there you have it.
It's Mother's Day. Is your show?
I know.
I should be able to sleep. It was I introduced you to the movie. I thought you would like it,
I loved it.
and so it's one of your favorite movies.
It is definitely one of my
You're
favorite
welcome.
movies. I would recommend it a million times over again. I wouldn't be opposed to watching it every single Mother's Day. It's fantastic fucking movie. Like I said, we had this picked out since October when we very first started this show. So, I mean, I've had my heart set on this movie since day one. So I'm glad that Mother's Day finally came around. I'm glad I finally got to do it. Thank you, Ronnie, for being here. Definitely appreciate it. It was nice to have someone awake with me.
Right. I'm always awake.
Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Ronnie, you know, if you guys want to follow Ronnie, she's got her personal Facebook. She's Roni Mae on Facebook. She does some killer fucking makeup. She's always uploading shit. She even does some TikToks that are pretty dope too. I've seen a few. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, definitely follow her. You should definitely make a Facebook page though, because you do some dope shit. So
Definitely gonna make another one.
right.
Hopefully upload everything on there.
Right. Because I love it. It's dope. I love your photos. And I know a lot of people do. So totally talented. That's for damn sure.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Letty says she loves you.
Aw.
Yeah. So anything, sir? No. Okay. Well, that's our show. I guess we're gonna go ahead and end it so I can have my Mother's Day night.
Right.
Because I've been busy and I didn't even get home until like 6 o'clock, and then I had like 3 hours to get the show ready and then eat dinner and do my Mother's Day stuff. And now it looks like my husband wants to go to bed. So
I still had to work today. That was fun.
Life goes on even if you're a mom. So
Oh yeah.
so anyways, well, we love you guys. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Got some stuff lined up. Definitely got some good shows coming up. We've got our next movie review lined up. I'm not sure what our next true crime is going to be, but I'll let y'all know. Yeah, that's our show. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in every week. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for sharing the shows, yada, yada, so on and so forth. Ronnie, thank you for being with us. Happy Mother's Day. You look phenomenal.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Good night to my husband, and we will see y'all next week.